Nick Newman's current trajectory on The Young and the Restless suggests he is standing at the edge of a dangerous personal collapse, and spoilers strongly hint that a developing painkiller addiction may soon become one of his biggest obstacles, especially when it comes to rekindling his relationship with Sharon Newman. What makes this storyline especially troubling is that Nick does not view himself as someone in trouble. Instead, he sees himself as the family protector, the man who must stay strong no matter the cost, even when his body and mind are clearly breaking down. After the violent encounter with Matt Clark, Nick's injuries were severe enough to require hospitalization, including treatment for a broken leg and other trauma from the crash. Doctors intended for him to remain under medical supervision, but Nick's refusal to stay reflects his long-standing belief that weakness is unacceptable. The crisis at Newman Enterprises, triggered by Kane Ashby's weaponized AI, gave Nick what he considered a justifiable reason to leave. In reality, it became the first major step toward self-destruction. By signing himself out early, Nick not only ignored medical advice but also set the stage for unmanaged pain, emotional overload, and reckless decision-making. Once out of the hospital, Nick immediately plunged back into chaos. The stress of watching Newman Enterprises crumble under Kane's attack combined with unresolved fury toward Phyllis Summers created a perfect storm. When Nick confronted Phyllis during the January 14th episode, his appearance alone told the story. He looked exhausted, angry, and physically unwell. His rage was raw and uncontrolled, and his threat to turn Summer against her mother showed that Nick was no longer thinking in terms of consequences. This was not a calculated move but an emotional outburst from a man stretched beyond his limits. The physical pain Nick was enduring cannot be understated. His injuries were serious, and without proper medical oversight, he became responsible for managing his own pain. That is where the danger truly begins. Pain medication, initially prescribed for legitimate reasons, starts to shift from a medical necessity to a psychological safety net. The pivotal scene where Nick realizes he is running low on pills is especially telling. Before even taking his medication, he acknowledges that he will need more, signaling that his focus is already drifting from healing to maintaining access. This moment mirrors the early stages of dependency, where the fear of running out becomes as powerful as the pain itself. What makes this storyline even darker is Nick's emotional state while taking the medication. He is not calm or relieved. He is isolated, stressed, and deeply angry. This means the pills are no longer just treating physical pain but are beginning to numb emotional turmoil as well. Nick has always struggled with processing trauma in healthy ways, often burying his feelings until they explode. Painkillers offer him a temporary escape, a way to dull both his injuries and his overwhelming sense of responsibility. That combination creates an extremely slippery slope. This darker version of Nick feels unfamiliar because it strips away his usual moral clarity. He is no longer guided by balance or compassion but by urgency and control. He believes he must fix everything himself even if it destroys him in the process. This mindset directly threatens his connection with Sharon. Any hope of a chic reunion relies on honesty, vulnerability, and mutual emotional support, qualities that addiction erodes almost immediately. If Nick begins hiding his pill use, lying about refills, or downplaying his dependency, Sharon will sense the shift long before he admits it. Sharon's history makes this situation even more complicated. She is highly perceptive and deeply empathetic, but she has also spent years learning not to take responsibility for other people's self-destruction. If she notices Nick's growing reliance on medication, she will be forced into an impossible position. Does she step in and try to save him, potentially sacrificing her own emotional stability, or does she pull back to protect herself? Either choice creates distance and delays any romantic reconciliation. From a storytelling perspective, this possible addiction arc feels like a deliberate roadblock to the long-anticipated chic reunion. Rather than allowing Nick and Sharon to come together in peace, the show appears to be testing whether Nick can truly change. Before he can be a healthy partner, he must confront his need to control everything and accept help, something he has historically resisted. Until Nick acknowledges that he is spiraling and seeks real support, romance will remain out of reach. In the end, Nick's potential pill addiction is not just about medication or injury recovery. It is about denial, emotional isolation, and the fear of appearing weak. Unless Nick faces those issues head-on, the path to healing, and to Sharon, will remain blocked by pain, secrecy, and unresolved trauma. The coming episodes will likely determine whether this storyline becomes a cautionary tale of relapse and loss or a turning point that finally forces Nick to choose vulnerability over control.